7 things casual fans are worried about in Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem looks promising. The tone feels darker, the direction feels ambitious, and the potential? Massive. But if we're being honest, casual fans have concerns. Not negativity, not hate, not doom posting, just real worries. Because we've seen franchises shift too far in one direction before. And when that happens, the people who just love the feeling of the series sometimes get left behind. So here are 7 things casual fans are genuinely worried about when it comes to Resident Evil Requiem. Number 1, is it going to be too lore heavy? Resident Evil has decades of history. Umbrella, bioweapons, government cover-ups, secret organizations, it's deep. And the depth is impressive. But casual fans don't want to feel like they need to study before they play. One of the reasons Resident Evil 7 Biohazard worked so well is because it felt accessible. You didn't need a timeline breakdown, you didn't need to understand every past event, you just stepped into the Baker house and experienced the horror. If Requiem feels like the culmination of 10 interconnected plot threads without onboarding new and returning players properly, that's intimidating. We want layered storytelling, but we don't want homework. There's a difference between depth and density. Casual fans want depth, not confusion. Number 2, is it going to lean too hard into action? This concern comes up every time new Resident Evil is announced, because the series has walked that line before. Action can work, it absolutely can. Resident Evil 4 changed the industry. It's probably one of the most best rated games ever, and it was more action focused. But underneath the action was tension. Ammo still mattered, positioning still mattered, the village felt dangerous. Compare that to moments in later entries where the scale got bigger, louder, and more explosive. When everything is intense all the time, nothing feels intense anymore. Casual fans don't need constant cinematic chaos. We need build-up. We need quiet hallways. We need that moment where you hesitate before opening a door. Look at the atmosphere in Resident Evil 2. Walking through the police station with limited resources creates natural anxiety. If Requiem trades tension for spectacle, it risks losing what makes Resident Evil feel like Resident Evil. We don't want a shooter with horror aesthetics. We want survival horror with action elements. Here's the third point. Are the characters going to feel too overpowered? Resident Evil works best when its characters feel human. Yes, they're trained, yes, they're capable, but they should still feel vulnerable. One reason Leon resonates in Resident Evil 4 is because even though he's skilled, he reacts to the insanity around him. There's weight behind his expressions. There's exhaustion in his voice. If Requiem leans too far into making its protagonists feel like invincible action icons, casual fans are going to struggle to connect. And something extra, I don't like superheroes, for example, because superheroes are too invincible, too unstoppable, too unrealistic. So we need humans in terrifying situations. The most memorable moments in Resident Evil aren't always boss fights. They're quiet scenes, reactions, subtle dialogue, moments of vulnerability. If the emotional layer disappears, the horror weakens. Point number 4. Is this just nostalgia bait? Bringing back familiar faces is exciting. Callbacks are exciting. References are exciting. But nostalgia alone can't carry a full game. The best Resident Evil entries didn't just recycle old ideas. They created new, iconic ones. The RPD in Resident Evil 2 became legendary. The village in RE4 became legendary, and so did the Baker house. Those weren't just callbacks. They were fresh environments with identity. If Requiem leans too heavily on reminding us why we love the past instead of giving us something new to love, it could feel safe. And safe is not what Resident Evil should feel like. We want evolution, not repetition. Point number 5. Will it forget the survival systems? Inventory space, limited ammo, healing decisions, backtracking. Those systems aren't just mechanics. They create tension. When they're choosing between carrying a key item or extra bullets, that's anxiety. When you don't know if you have enough ammo for what's ahead, that's immersion. If Requiem simplifies those systems too much in an attempt to modernize or streamline, it might accidentally remove the stakes. Casual fans don't necessarily want punishing difficulty. We do want meaningful decisions. That's what matters to us. If every encounter is easily solvable, fear becomes cosmetic. And Resident Evil without tension just isn't it. We just want Resident Evil without tension. It's just aesthetic horror. Point number 6. Is it trying to please everyone at once? This might be the most realistic fear. The Resident Evil fanbase is diverse. You have classic survival horror fans, RE4 action fans, first-person fans from RE7 and Village, remake fans, lore-focused fans, all types. Trying to satisfy every group equally can sometimes create tonal confusion. The strongest entries in the series had a clear identity. They committed to a direction. If Requiem constantly shifts tone or gameplay style to appeal to every segment, it might lose cohesion. And when a game lacks cohesion, it struggles to feel immersive. Casual fans may not articulate that directly, but we feel it. Consistency builds immersion. Inconsistency breaks it. Number 7. What if it just doesn't feel like Resident Evil? This is the biggest one. Not that it will be bad, but that it might feel off. Resident Evil has a distinct atmosphere. Isolation, unease, controlling pace, environmental storytelling, which is one of my favorites. If Requiem drifts too far into generic horror tropes or pure cinematic action, it risks losing its identity. Casual fans don't analyze design philosophy. We analyze vibes. Does it feel like Resident Evil? Do we feel tense? Do we feel immersed? Do we feel that slow burn dread? If the answer is yes, casual fans like myself will embrace it. If the answer is no, something important will feel missing. And here's the key thing. These worries exist because people care. Resident Evil has delivered incredible experiences before. We felt that late night tension, that just one more hour kind of feeling, and the satisfaction after surviving something overwhelming. Casual fans aren't asking for perfection. We're asking for balance. Balance between accessibility and depth. Balance between action and tension, and balance between nostalgia and originality. If Resident Evil Requiem can find that balance, it won't just be another sequel. It could be something amazing. So which of these worries hits you the most? Too much lore, too much action, not enough survival? Let me know. Because the chance is that the casual perspective, and if the Requiem gets this right, we might be witnessing one of the most important Resident Evil releases in years.